kid from the bush who grew into a legend in his own lunchtime, former SAS soldier Michael J. Malone has seen it all. This is Never Die Wondering, Mick Malone in his own words, hosted by the man himself, Mick Malone, along with Toby Malone, as they examine this long, storied career in the Australian Special Forces. Join us each week for behind-the-scenes insight, exclusive readings, and brutally honest truths from a true original. Welcome to Never Die Wondering. Welcome to episode 25 of Never Die Wondering, Mick Malone in his own words, a podcast that explores the life and legend of Michael John Malone, OAM. My name is Toby Malone, Mick's son and co-host of this podcast series, joined by the man whose name is in the title, Mick Malone. Hey, Dad.
Hey, Tobes, how are you, mate?
Good, how are you?
Fine and beaut.
Good. Yeah, we've been talking about, over the last couple of weeks, the escalation, moving up, everything. The whips started cracking, as you said just before we started recording.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you expected when you got there? Was it exactly what you expected or more?
A bit hard to tell. We knew that once the shooting started, it wouldn't be fun, but we were up for it. We were better trained than the other guy was, um, and we had our mates all around us, so that was the main thing.
Yeah, and I guess there's a lot of stuff that you can't plan for. Like in last week's episode, we talked about the bloke stepping out of the bush and shooting the bloke when you're all surrounded by enemy on all sides, and he just decided the two guys carrying the pig on the stick, and he stepped out and said
Oh,
halt, and then shot him, and then went, oh, hang on.
very naughty boy.
Yeah, tough to plan for something like that, because then you got to try and scarper before it goes really bad.
Yeah, the troll commander went ballistic over that.
Yeah, but I guess every patrol you learn some lessons and you figure some stuff out, and some things get easier, and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, and I had a very responsible job in the patrol. That was getting communications every time we needed to, in Morse code, and that was it. But you had to do everything else too. So you know, um, they didn't want the whips to be cracking too much
yeah,
because
yeah.
we wanted to be at kick, the founders of the jungle. We wanted to remain unseen until we had to pop out and brass the bad guys up.
Right. And so the last episode was called Hotting Up. Everything was starting to increase in tension, and this episode's called Copping It. So it really we're starting to get into some of the patrols where things are getting really really hairy. So how's it
Yeah.
feel recalling some of those? Are they good memories? Are they traumatic
Uh,
memories?
some traumatic ones, but generally fine. But under Clem Dwyer, it was a vastly different kettle of fish.
Hmm.
Always felt safe with old Clem.
Right. Excellent. Well, why don't we jump into it and we'll read this chapter.
All right.
It's a shorter one today, so we'll get a chance to chat a little bit about it afterwards. So today we'll be reading chapter 22 of Two Ranks on the Road, 35 Years of Australian Special Forces Service by Michael J. Malone, OAM, published in 2024 by Imprimatur Books, Perth. This chapter, entitled Copping It, covers pages 169 to 172 in the print edition. The e-book may have slightly different numbering, so follow from the beginning of that chapter. As we read, the body of the text will be read by author Mick Malone. Whenever we come across a footnote, we'll pause in the least disruptive way possible, and I'll read the footnotes. And now, without further ado, Two Ranks on the Road.
Chapter 22, Copying It, 1969. Remain calm. After 5 months, I escaped Roberts' patrol. I got to hook up with Clem Dwyer's patrol, in which Kirkez was 2IC. We saw some serious action up towards the May Towers, an area of much VC NVA activity. Clem was an extremely campaign sergeant with Borneo and Vietnam experience. He was an aloof man and not very well liked by the other senior NCOs, but us diggers rated him highly, especially with the SLR on auto and the white phos grenades he carried. He was the most decisive leader, and his briefings each morning were spot on. Clem was also the only patrol commander who had us facing in the LUPs. He contended we could watch our arcs over the opposite man's shoulder and communicate much more effectively. Years later, when I had my own patrol, I adopted the same LUP strategy. Clem also adopted pickets throughout the night, with him always last. Being scoundrels, we all slept through the night, waking up Clem to do his stint at first light arrived. He never found out about this deception. Luckily for us, as his knowledge of us scoundreling may have affected our health. Clem seemed to attract trouble in the bush, but with him leading, we were up for it. In the hilly foothills of the May Towers, we just come across an old bunker system and propped on the edge of it. We hadn't taken our packs off when the sound of bushes rustling drew our attention. Just then, this fresh-faced young Viet, with his hat on the back of his head, and AK at the ready, strolled out into the open, and not 15 metres from us. Three of us let fly, dropping him and two others behind him. I got hit in the eye with a shell casing from Clem's rifle. I couldn't see from it as it was bleeding quite considerably. No time to stop and worry about it, though. It was helter-skelter down the hill towards a creek line where we propped. Out with the aerial, ground wire, gave the contact code word, and quickly packed up. Charlie was coming down towards us, firing shots in the air and yelling out to each other. Clem kept us calm and had a plan. It always amazed me at the ease at which he could formulate a plan to get us out of a jam. In this instance, it was an escape plan with diversions. We would get one of our 203 carriers to fire a 40mm bomb in a westerly direction while the patrol headed off to the east. He also readied a claymore mine in case of close contact. This would involve placing a claymore mine behind us and running the cable out. As Chaz got up to our pursuit, he would fire it, which would slow them down considerably, but not for long. By the time we got to the pickup point, the whop-whop of the choppers could be heard. Clem was on the blower, asking for LFT to brass up the areas to our north. We had blue smoke billowing around us. The LFT was firing rockets, with both machine gunners giving it heaps. Hate to think how many they got. A slick ship came in quickly to pick me up, but the patrol was to stay in and continue. I handed my radio over to someone else, and got on the chopper. They whisked me off to Fire Support Base Pat, where 5RAR headquarters was located. I was paraded to Lieutenant Colonel Colin Genghis Khan.
Footnote: his nephew Vance Khan would command SAS troops in the Iraq War in the 2000s.
To brief him on where the patrol had hit Charlie. A quick visit to their medic and back on the chopper for the run back to the DAT. I had a bandage wrapped around my head as my eye was still bleeding. Kev Logan met me at the pad along with Reg and Woofer. They came down to the ROP with me, asking questions all the way. How many? Weapons seen? Condition of the patrol? After patching me up, Kev rang the Task Force Hospital 8 camp and was told to get me down there ASAP, where I was admitted to an observation ward for 3 days. The doctors were concerned about permanent damage to the eye and the optic nerve, but after extensive investigation, I was discharged on day 3. The Kev was briefed on what they wanted done, and away I went. I thought, what fun. I should be able to skive off for a few days. But no, I was to report to Ross Bishop, the 2IC, in the morning. He for jobs around the headquarters. At least it wasn't Mizu's Kingdom or DK's ammo bunker or Tom Bassett's kitchen. It was good to catch up with a few mates in the boozer that night. I was still on medication with express orders, no grog for a few days, so it was golfers. My patrol was due in the day after tomorrow, and I would be rejoining them. Reg hadn't called me in to fight for a debrief, and I figured he would wait till the whole patrol was back at the DAT. At least three I Troop patrols were out south of the May Towers. Freddie Roberts, Bill Harris, and of course Clem Dwyer. Fred had stirred up a hornet's nest. Bill Harris was saw nothing, and Clem was also stirring the possum. On you, Clem. A couple of Kiwi patrols were also deployed in that area, led by Bill Lillycrap and Roger Marker. They chalked up a few, bringing the squadron's tally up, but Reg had banned the troop scoreboards after two squadrons had made such a big deal of it. E Troop dominated the tally board, which had a tractor and radio paint on it, signifying two of the biggest coups ever pulled by an SAS patrol. It was a tractor job, as it was known then, and as is known today. Frank Cashmore laid an explosive ambush on a fire trail to the north. The engineers had constructed mines from ammo tins filled with C4. They went in and sat watching the trail for 2 days and realised the VC NVA were coming down from the hills with a tractor towing a trailer filled with bags of rice, supplies, and packed with soldiers. Frank decided to dig up the track and lay his mines with pressure switches. Adrian Black had told me that he was out on the track digging into what was pretty hard packed soil very late in the arvo when it was getting dark. They could actually hear the tractor grinding its way slowly through the dry creek beds to the northwest. Frank was getting a bit toey by this stage and urged the digging team on. They finally got the mines below ground and covered over when a faint flicker of light was seen through the trees, just enough time to remove any sign and get into the bush. They grabbed their packs and moved swiftly away to get out of the blast area and propped about 100 metres back and waited. The tractor chugged along and they could see its headlights and the silhouettes of soldiers packed into the trailer. Then up she went, a resounding blast. By then it was too dark to see, so they hightailed it out of there, as there were reports of weapons being cocked and voices. Next day, a small bubble chopper, Bell Sioux, flew over to take photos and determine that up to 20 VC NVA had been killed. They landed close by, a second man in the chopper.
Footnote, this may have been Ross Hutchinson, but I could be mistaken.
Jumped out and picked up a recoilless rifle, an RCL, to bring back as a trophy.
Footnote, this later went missing from Task Force headquarters. The question is, where is the RCL today? It's not in the War Memorial in Canberra, nor in the SASR Historical Collection.
This was indeed a real coup for two squadrons, and for Frank and Danny Wright, his 2OC, and the rest of the patrol. Two patrols came in the next day. I was up at NADZAB to welcome Clem and the boys. They looked a bit ragged to me, worse for wear, but other patrols, Freddie Roberts, both patrols had chalked up a few wins with no losses on our side. I attended a patrol debrief later that afternoon, still wearing my eye patch, which Kev would remind me removed tomorrow. With a bit of luck, we would be getting 36-hour pass to Vung Tau out of this, me included, I hoped. I hope so. Oh, God.
And
End of chapter.
that was chapter 22 from Two Ranks on the Road, 35 Years of Australian Special Forces Service by Michael J. Malone, as read by the author. Okay, only 3 or 4 pages, but a lot is packed into those 3 or 4 pages.
Shits for trumps.
Yeah, copying it is right. Yeah, lots of stuff going on there. We start the chapter talking about Clem Dwyer, um, and so you shifted over from Chris Roberts' patrol to Clem's patrol. So what do you remember about Clem? Like what made him a great leader for you?
6'2", had the bearings of a huge man like you see on television, those superhero things. He never smiled. He smoked incessantly, one off the other, and he really had his shit in one sock.
Mm,
Clem, he was a good one, I tell you what. But he wasn't very well liked by anybody. But that's all right. We didn't want him to be well liked. We just wanted him to be good at what he did.
right, but
And
it
he's
sounds
certainly
like
good at
he was
that.
a pretty good strategic patrol commander.
Oh, yeah, very good patrol commander.
And that story that you tell in the chapter about um, running into the enemy and then having to get out and the diversion tactics.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was just about the de rigueur for every patrol we did.
Mm,
If you got hit or you ran into somebody, you had to put the big ones in and get away. Break track, all that stuff, ambush your backtrack, um, and so on, till you broke clear completely.
mm.
And they sometimes used to chase you all over the province. Oh my God.
Yeah, because you were vastly outnumbered, obviously, when
Oh
you were
yeah,
out there.
yeah. In the main, but not really, because we have um, solid weapons.
Right. I
Sometimes
mean,
we captured a few AK-47s that were so rusty you couldn't have used them. They're so stuffed.
right.
But that was it. You didn't want to trust them not being able to fire them because they would.
Mm. And then this is the first instance of you getting wounded in combat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I thought that's it. I've lost my eye,
Right.
and I haven't. See?
So you couldn't see out of your eye. So what was that?
No,
What was
it
that
was
moment like?
bleeding. Blood was running all down my face.
Hmm.
I'm a bit worried about it, but it all turned out fine and beaut.
So when you were after you were wounded, you were transported off to you had 3 days in the hospital. So or being observed. Was that a relief to be laid up, or did you were you
Oh yeah, I was
itching to get
I was
out?
pretty happy. Pretty happy to get out of the bush.
Right. And did it ever run through your head that this could be your ticket home?
Sorry?
Did it ever run through your head that this could be your ticket home?
Not really.
The like
I
they
didn't
they
want it to be.
like
I
they talk
didn't
about
want
the
it
mi-
to
the
be.
million the $1 million wound, right? The where you get a
Yeah, I didn't want it to be.
right.
The last thing I wanted to be seen as a part-timer or a skiver.
But
And
if
the,
you
the boys would have gave me heaps if I'd have pulled out.
yeah, but if you had lost your eye, then they
Oh,
would
that
have
would have been it. They'd lost my eye. Um, we had a bloke lost his eye on the first tour. When they were attacked by mortars in the middle of the night.
right.
And he spent the rest of his army career in the bloody Q store.
Hmm.
Nice bloke,
Who was
Bob Davies.
Bob Davies? Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, it's just an interesting thing where when you get out there and the reality of it all hits, and then you get an injury where you think, oh, actually, they might put me on a plane, go home. It's a real testament to your fortitude that you didn't think, all right, let me put my cue in the rack. I can go home without any drama because um, and many would take that as the opportunity to put their hand up and leave. And so it's a good thing that you jump back in.
No, we're all just 21 and well trained.
Hmm.
Trained for 2 years before we deployed. And your mates were so thick, it was thick as thieves with your mates.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing you wanted to do was leave them.
Yeah.
But if I'd lost my eye, I would have gone home, of course,
Yeah.
much to my mother's chagrin.
Did your mother know that you were you
I
were
said,
injured?
oh, I'd been scratched my eye or something. I was told of some innocuous
Right.
something. I don't know. I didn't speak about it much.
Well, she probably didn't find out about it until weeks later either.
Well, it would have been. Yeah, I wrote to her about it. I said, yeah, just something bumped my eye. She's right.
You didn't tell her it was a hot shell casing.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing that comes up in this chapter is the sort of the legendary tractor job, which is still talked about today. This this legendary
Oh,
moment. And Adrian Blacker, your old mate, who is such a formative figure in my childhood, and ended up being the trainer at the rugby club when I played there at Cottesloe, was involved, and along with Frank Cashmore, who ran the thing. But whose idea was this tractor job? When did it?
oh, the intelligence people determined that the VC were using a tractor and trailer to bring all their supplies down from the mountains, and we should interdict. There was go in and blow the hell out of them.
Right.
So the patrol deployed with all these. They got the ammo tins, got them down to the engineers who got the oxy cutter out and cut the bottoms out and shape the bottoms like that.
Hmm.
Fill them full of CE, which was the American explosive. And all we had to do was stick a detonator in it and away she'd go. But they did about 10 of these things. So the whole patrol was out in the track digging. They dug probably 10 holes on both tyre tracks and ran the cable back. Well, no, they didn't have a cable because it was pressure plate, the pressure plate on top. And sat back in the bush and waited. And up she went.
Yeah, it feels like the final scene in some kind of war movie, where they're
Yeah, yeah,
digging the holes and they're setting the ambush, and then
yeah.
this tractor goes
Frank
up.
is still famous for that today.
Yeah, yeah. So it's
Um, there was a period where he would always tell you about it.
right,
I think he's grown up a bit since then.
right.
But
I think
he's still alive.
you were saying that the tractor ended up being marked on the two squadron. They
Yeah,
had
they had a board with all their little stick men for all the enemy they killed, and a tractor and trailer. So
uh,
that's like the punt when Reg saw it and said, "Oh, I'm
yeah,
not having
yeah. Fair enough. Well, that's yeah. You got to stay motivated somehow, but. That's great.
that."
So wounded and back in the fold, but then looking forward to a bit of rest, um, earning some time at Vung Tau, which we'll hear about in the next episode. Um, and you'd been there before, I think, before this.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So you had something to look forward to, and I guess once you've been injured, it becomes all the more sweet to be able to get some
yeah,
time away. So, so great. Well, we'll talk about Funktown next episode, but lots of action here today, as you certainly copped it in more ways than one. So that is all
good
the
one.
time we have this week for Never Die Wondering. Join us next week for the next installment in our exploration of Mick Malone's career as we get into the 23rd chapter of the book itself entitled Vung Tau. If you have a copy of Two Ranks, read along with us. I've been Toby Malone, and thank you to Mick Malone for valiantly joining me on this journey.
There, mate.
Cheers.
See you later.
This has been Never Die Wondering, Mick Malone in his own words. For links to purchase your own copies of Mick's books, visit the show notes or mickmalone.com.au. This podcast is produced by Toby Malone, Joe Malone and Mick Malone and engineered by Toby Malone. Theme music is The Happy Wanderer, the official SAS march, as reimagined by Cormac Malone and Meg Malone. Yes, this is a family affair. This is a GM production in association with Imprimatur Books.